Hello and welcome to Fireside History. Today's episode will mostly be me reading primary texts and adding context to them. Now, the biggest political challenge that Mursili faced in his reign was not the plague that ravaged his land or the uh, struggles with rebellions, but weirdly came from within his own house. It came from his stepmother, Melnigal, or Tawanana, who apparently was prone to, politicking against him. And initially, the two minted coins together with, her supporting his rule to a limited extent, but there seems to have been tension within the household. And he apparently consulted with his brother Sharikushu about her during the festival, right before Sharikushu's death. Now, I will read to you what Mursili's commentary was on her wielding incredible influence over and control over assets of the state cult. Do you gods not see how she has turned the entire house of my father into the stone house, i.e., mausoleum, of the tutelary god, the god Lama, and the stone house of the god? Some things she brought in from the land of Shanhara, Babylon. Others in Hatti. To the populace she handed over. She left nothing. My father's house she destroyed. Now, there are parts where the text does break, so yeah, that's a problem. Now, the response from Mursili while he was out was pretty limited because he couldn't really fight her while he had all these other obligations outside the capital. But he apparently tried to take his wife, the Princess Gashulawiya, and use her, so to speak, to supplant his stepmother as Tawanana. Now, we don't know much about Gashulawiya, only that the king doted on her and was devoted to her and might have even been, to a limited extent, faithful to her. It's implied from, what little we know, he might have been faithful to her, like I said. So this was a passionate love. One that he, was very devoted to and was a facet of his life that provided him with stability. Now, he would spill prayer upon prayer to the gods to spare his wife, and he would protest her innocence and beg that she be restored to health when she did fall ill with likely the same plague that had ravaged so much of the country. And she didn't survive. Now, there is something a little peculiar, as apparently Tawanana had not taken well to being possibly supplanted. And while she had publicly prayed for Gashulawiya's good health, everybody seems to have suspected her of having poisoned Gashulawiya. Now, we don't know what Gashulawiya's condition was, what the symptoms were, so we can only assume and take on one side or the other. And many historians tend to say, well, it was the plague. But it might have been the plague to an extent, but I kind of fall in on the side that there was poison involved. There was foul play. Tawanana certainly would be in a position to procure poison, and she would certainly be feeling cornered enough to resort to it. So, yes, I fall in on that camp. The black legend, so to speak. As we have every evidence to believe that she was kind of scummy. Now, Mursili's words in his next prayer is, "My punishment is the death of my wife. Has this become any better? Because she killed her. Throughout the days of life, my soul goes down to the dark netherworld on her account. For me, it has been unbearable. She has bereaved me. Do you gods not recognize who really has been punished? Now he would consult with oracles on the matter, and it may well be that this is what his meeting with Sharikushu was about. As well, Gashula Iwia may have died before Sharikushu. Now, that said, what Mursili had in mind for his stepmother would prove to be a very surprising indictment to anyone familiar with history, as the natural thing to do would be to kill the Tawanana. Now, wait till next time to see what comes up, what happens. And, well, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay tuned for more of our videos.